Don't like the little guards that come into their territory.
They didn't play that way when you were playing, though, did they?
Oh, wow. I still have the scars to prove it.
Low Cheeks making the first of 2 shots. Billy Cunningham anxiously watching.
However, I'd listen to their counsel. You know, one of those fouls, and I wouldn't go in there. I'd stay out.
Right,
it wasn't hard to convince.
If they can't take a joke.
Yeah, absolutely.
66-51 is our score. Just under a minute to play in the first half. The Celtics have the 66. Rick Roby. Archibald in low to Maxwell. Great making move by Maxwell.
Max did it all that time.
When he does that. 17-point Boston Bulge. Mo Cheeks, air ball. Max out of the pack, was fouled, almost fouled from behind by Malone, and double dribble. Call on Maxwell.
Boy, is that a bad call. Wow. Max hits the deck. I don't blame him.
Deck, indeed.
Just terrible call there.
All right, Ivoroni inbounds to Franklin Edwards. 26 seconds to go in the half. The Celtics with their biggest lead, equaling it right now at 17 points. All right, Mo Cheeks with the ball. 16 seconds to go in the first half. Cheeks with Ivoroni, with Archibald on him. Ivoroni trying to set a pick low. Now Edwards outside. Does not get it. Rebound by Bobby Jones. 3 seconds to go in the half. Archibald does not get the shot off on time. We've come to the end of the first half. A great second quarter for the Celtics. It was Boston by 30-27 at the end of the first quarter. But in the second quarter, the Celtics scored 38 points. Philadelphia in the second quarter scored just 26 points. And over the final 8.5 minutes of the half, Philadelphia scored just 10 points. So we've come to the end of the first half at the Garden with a score. The Celtics 68, Philadelphia 53. Cousy back at Boston Garden, where the Celtics lead 68-53 at the half over the Philadelphia 76ers. A 15-point Boston lead generated by what was Coos a superb second quarter. They outscored Philly 38-26, allowed them only 2 baskets in the final 8.5 minutes of the quarter, and really did it all on both ends of the floor, and everyone was contributing. The starters, the bench, the whole works. I mean, it was just a great second quarter for them.
You can't replace, you know, almost complete board domination, aggressive defense that created a lot of turnovers. We talked about the Celtics being a little careless with the ball, and they were for a good part of the first half, but they tightened it up, I think, when Tiny and Joe got in there. And then, you know, the defense, the ball control, and running a good, tight, fast break, and then getting the ball inside effectively as well, and letting Maxwell and Robert Parrish do their thing. And of course, Bird was just, you know, just outstanding. 24 points, and you know, was a factor on the boards. Came up with some steals. You know, as they say, he did it all.
All right, we're going to go to an interview in a moment that Bob Cousy had tape recorded prior to the game with Chuck Daly, who used to be a Philly assistant and was the head coach at Cleveland for a very short while, and is now doing some television in Philadelphia. But before we do that, we do want to pass along a happy 90th birthday greeting to Jesse Law, retired New Bedford policeman, from Mary and Bill Whalen, and their Jesse's grandson Dave. And also I'd like to say hi to my brother Arthur, who's recuperating from surgery at St. Elizabeth's Hospital. And I'd like to say congratulations to Bob Cousy and Missy for 32 years of wedded bliss yesterday. Robert, she's a remarkable woman.
Yes.
To have been married to you for 32 years.
I'll tell you, 2 years would have been tough. Imagine 32.
All right, let's go to this pre-taped interview. Bob Cousy with Philadelphia 76ers television color commentator Chuck Daly.
Chuck, old-timer, we were talking before the season about your new responsibilities as analyst for the 76ers. What do you think? Is it easier talking about it than coaching it?
I think it's easier talking about it than coaching it, but it's not as easy as people think, as we both know. You know, you've got to perceive it, you've got to visualize it, you've got to verbalize it and somehow personalize it in a very short span of time. So it can be a little difficult.
65 times a year, too.
Yeah, that's another problem, particularly if you're with a club like L.A., the Celtics, or Philadelphia, where you have a lot of games where you just blow teams out, and you got to find things to say. And how many times can you say, Doc made another spectacular move? So it can be a little more difficult.
I have that problem with Mr. Bird from time to time. You know, we also were talking in Providence at the time of the first exhibition game this year about obviously the adjustment that Moses Malone was going to have to make to this team, and vice versa, I suppose. Obviously, he has made the adjustment rather fluidly.
Yeah, to date, I would say so. And I had some of the same suspicions that you did. I think Billy Cunningham was very concerned about the chemistry, moving 4 or 5 players out of the lineup. But the guy has just done it all. He knows nothing but how to work, and he works in what I call the sweatshop area.
Yeah, exactly.
And gets it all done in there. And it seems as though that the rebounding is now more contagious. Julius seems to be rebounding better. And everybody is not concerned about missing a shot because he simply gets it and puts it back in.
How does a guy, which I guess is kind of strange, you know, given that reaction now to the Philadelphia team, obviously he has been made a more effective player by his teammates and vice versa. They've complemented each other, but how does a guy hang around like for 8 years and for that matter, you know, win the MVP twice and in our eyes at least seem to be a better basketball player with this team?
I know what you're saying. I think that's always been a case with a team like the Celtics, a team like the 76ers. They surround themselves with a little better personnel, and I think it even raises a great player a little bit more level. But the basic reason he's a better player is he just works so hard.
Psychologically, do you think perhaps also getting with a championship team? I know Houston did well a couple of years ago, but that was a fluke as far as I was concerned. All of a sudden now, you know, he sees some daylight, he sees a possible championship. I got to think that a little additional motivation also brings out more in a guy.
He made an interesting statement the other day. He's up 2 rebounds a game from a year ago, from 14 to 16 a
and
game.
he's in the top 10 in block shots. I don't believe he's ever been in that category.
And his statement was, he said that he doesn't have to play quite as many minutes here. Billy's resting him a little bit more, which he was never used to, and he feels it's helping him. That's the only analysis I can give.
You know, speaking of that, it triggers a question which may not be by design, but I noticed in doing my homework tonight that ever since Al Attles in, 75, I think, won the championship by kind of 2 platooning.
Yes.
You know, NBA coaches are like fishermen. We're such copycats in the sense that somebody wins using a certain, you know, theory or system, and everyone runs to it. What I'm saying is before that it was kind of pick your best 6 or 7 guys and go with them for the 82. Billy Cunningham seems to be doing this this year. In other words, 7 guys are getting the bulk of the playing time. Is this by design, or is it just that he doesn't have that confidence in his bench yet?
No, he actually went to this about 2-3 years ago. We were into the platoon system and moving players in and out of the lineup. But he all of a sudden decided that, well, the players came to him, they wanted more time, and he moved up the playing time of his basic 6. I think this year he didn't have the confidence in Ivoroni and Shaney and the other rookies early, but they're playing so well right now. Ivoroni's playing outstanding. Clint Richards is coming in just playing sensational basketball off the bench. So I think those minutes may be up later on, but right now he's going with the hardware.
As the rookies gain experience, I assume, although, because it is a long season and all that, and I hate to sound like an old-timer, but we used to average 44 minutes and play just as long, and you know, you're young and you're healthy and you're talented, that doesn't bother you. And it sets up, it seems to me, a conflict of sorts, because you touched on it in your response, that the good players, hey, they all want the playing time. You're better players, you know, not so much to amass individual stats. They just want to be out there. It's fun for them. And on the other hand, you know, the reason, one of the main reasons also for the 2 platooning is, hey, keep 10 guys happy and involved, you know. This is a conflict.
Right, that plus the fact to develop your bench and also restrain injury problems.
Yeah, well, whatever happens, it's going to be another interesting year, and I got a hunch it's going to go 7 down to the wire in the playoffs between these 2 clubs.
I think you're exactly right, and I think we'll be doing the same thing in May.
Thanks for joining us, Chuck.
My pleasure.
Good luck the rest of the year. Okay, we're going to be back with the second half action in just a moment, and we have a Seiko watch first to give our guest.
Fantastic.
How's that?
One for the other way.
Okay. Thank you, Chuck. Okay, the Boston Celtics halftime guests will receive a Seiko watch, compliments of Sherman's, the name brand store for quality, value, and service. Stop at Sherman's, located at 11 Bromfield Street, near Downtown Crossing, Boston.
Gil Santos and Bob Cousy back at the Garden. It's the Celtics by 15 points at the half, 68-53. The Celtics picking up that 15-point lead off a great second quarter, 38-26 second quarter spread for the Celtics. Larry Bird, 24 points and 9 rebounds in the first half. Robert Parrish playing on a bad left ankle, 14 points and 10 rebounds for the Celtics. Cedric Maxwell, 6 points and 5 rebounds, and all 6 of those, Bob, for Cedric Maxwell came late in the first half and were key points that helped the Celtics in that surge. From 8.5 minutes to the end of the first half, the Celtics outscored Philadelphia 24-10 over that final stretch. Ainge had 4, Archibald 4, Buckner 4, McHale 6 points, Henderson 4, and Carr 2. The Celtics were from the floor 27 for 47 in the first half. For Philadelphia, the big man has been Julius Erving with 17 points, 12 points and 6 rebounds for Malone, 12 points for Andrew Toney. The Celtics overall in the first half shot 58%, Philadelphia 41. The rebounding is the difference, though, Robert. 30 rebounds for the Celtics and only 18 for Philadelphia in that first half.
Well, I don't know that the Celtics needed any emotional lift coming out here. We've talked about the intensity between these two teams, but certainly I think Robert Parrish, not to overdo his effort, but as we pointed out, you know, he is hurting, and I think any time a player goes out and gives a little bit more than he has to, it has to affect his teammates, and I think we've seen this reflected here.
We'll be back with the second half in just a little bit. And Bob Cousy back at the Garden, where the Celtics lead by 15 points at the half. In the second quarter, Ray Perry hands me a statistic. The Celtics were 14 for 22 from the floor, 63%. Philly in the first half shot only 38. And in that final 8.5 minutes of the first half, they had only 2 baskets from the floor. One was a tip-in by Bobby Jones. The other was a goaltending call on Maxwell.
Well,
was that was that a result of great Celtics defense?
A little bit of both. Ball hawking as well. They caused 10 turnovers. They had 14 of their own, and we've touched on this. Part of why you shouldn't be too upset at that statistic, other than the fact you don't want to throw it away 28 times, assuming they pick up another 14 against Philadelphia, is that they have run so effectively and so well that you don't want to make them tentative. You don't want to make them conservative. You've got, you know, if you harp too much on, hey, be careful with the ball, pretty soon, you know, they come up short a little bit and they don't make the pass they should make. So I think, you know, the ball handling finesse will kind of fall into place and be fine. It's just a question of they're paying a little stricter attention to it. But the defense was exceptional. It did create better shooting opportunities. I thought the double team on Malone also on Bill Pitcher's part was effective. It pretty much, because he had a lot of trouble picking out that free man.
All right, Buckner and Ainge, the guards, start the second half. Parrish in the middle, Maxwell and Bird up front. Celtics getting the ball to start the second half. Larry Bird on a miss. Ainge on the tip-in.
Oh, wow.
Danny Ainge tips it in. The Celtics lead by 17.
That'll give him a little bit of an emotional lift as well. I'll tell you, you don't expect guards to get in there and do that kind of damage. Ainge with 3.
Toney up over Parrish, doesn't get it. Robert clears it away. In the middle, it's Ainge. Gets it off to Buckner, and Quinn wide open. Banks it in. Celtics' biggest lead of the game is 19 points. 72-53.
Mark of an experienced guard, too. You notice he had a little 18-footer. He caught the man running at him, knew he was alive, let him go by, took the little dribble and made it into a 15-footer.
Toney and Cheeks the guards. Malone in the middle, Ivoroni, and Irving up front. And Andrew Toney fills it up, cutting the Celtics lead to 17, 72-55. We have just started the third quarter.
There's no point pointing out the explosiveness of these two teams and how a lead doesn't mean anything. It sounds trite, but they've demonstrated so often that it's a truism.
Maxwell outside to the Chief from downtown. That's about an 18, 19-footer for Robert Parrish.
A little off balance, and Malone coming in strong at him gave him plenty of defensive pressure as well. Still put it in. I'm impressed, as we've said before, but, you know, he's limping, but it's not reflected in any part of his game so far, really. He's playing about as well as he normally does.
Mo Cheeks. They get it low to Toney, who tries to post up on Ainge. Danny staying with him. But Tony's just a great offensive machine.
That kid is tough. He's
ahead to Ainge. He is fouled.
He's really turned into a good player. Ainge, after the basket, took advantage of the momentary letdown by the shooter. Streak down floor. Has great speed for a man his size. And was able to pick up the 4th foul on Tony. And the way Tony started out here, that may become a big foul if it forces Cunningham to sit him down for a while.
Danny Ainge getting the first of his 2 shots. The Celtics 75, Philadelphia 57. Boston does not equal its biggest lead, which was 19 a moment ago. It's an 18-point lead right now. Ivoroni bringing the ball up in pretty good shape for a big man at 6'8". Ainge picks him up on a switch. Now Irving. Rebound by Parrish, tipped to Bird. Ahead to Maxwell. Cedric dishing off to Ainge when he knew he didn't have the shot.
That's good play on Max's part. Knew he was off balance.
Maxwell is fouled by Mark Ivoroni. That'll be the 2nd team foul in Philadelphia. Possession foul. Celtics Sixer games always something special.
Schultz still didn't outshoot Philadelphia from the line in the first half. We pointed out they had 16 more in Philly in the first game. They were 14 for 15.
Bird.
Oh, wow.
Rooney says Bird just plain lost the ball, so it'll be Philadelphia ball.
Difficult call there. It appeared it was knocked out of his hand. In any event, they shot 14 out of 15. Good average, but Philadelphia shot 5 more. They shot 20.
All right, Mo Cheeks, and now Ivoroni. Tony, way outside. Whoa, he's hit 3 here in this 3rd quarter.
Well,
all of their points.
He can take it into the basket, put it to the floor well. He protects well, picks up fouls.
All the way through, no. Maxwell, the rebound, doesn't get it. Parrish fighting for the rebound. Irving picks it up.
Boy, they're banging under those boards.
And a pushing foul, offensive, called on Irving.
Jay, yeah, there's Jay using his free hand. Ainge is just trying to kind of stay out of his way and delay his progress here.
Technical foul. Has been called by Wally Rooney.
On Jay?
I believe on Julius Irving.
Well, that's out of character.
Yes.
For those of you who have seen Jay over the years.
Yeah, he's usually the same way as Bird is.
His response is, and even when he gets upset,
you never know it.
Severe enough to, to call it technical.
Bird buries the technical free throw.
25 points for Bird now.
76-59, the Celtics leading with 9:11 to go in the 3rd quarter. I watch guys like Bird and Irving who never get flustered. Robert Parrish never show their emotion. Imagine what it's like trying to play a poker game with those guys.
Ivoroni and Max are going at it
Yes,
now.
they are. And Max is winning the battle of position down low, and Ivoroni's getting frustrated.
And he's also getting his team into early team foul trouble. 3 on Philly, none on Boston. And we talked about that a few moments ago.
All right, Larry Bird in low to Maxwell. The jump hook. Cedric.
Well, the 2 fouls intimidated Ivoroni just a bit because that time he gave up the position. He didn't want to pick up a 3rd one quickly.
Celtics equal their biggest lead, 19 points. Irving turning the baseline, fingertip roll. Maxwell comes away. Celtics come out with 4 on 3. Buckner blind pass to Ainge. Wide open baseline. No. Malone the rebound. Now Irving. Nice dish off the Cheeks, but he lost control. Parrish blocked it. Ball out of bounds off Philly. It'll be Celtic ball.
Defense by intimidation by the Chief.
Ivoroni goes out and Bobby Jones comes in for Philadelphia.
Good move on the part of Billy Cunningham. Jones really should be the starter. Outstanding 6th man. Good defense, good offense, unselfish. Simply a fine basketball player. But he likes to bring him in off the bench, and that's what he did that time, none too soon.
Maxwell. Now Buckner. Oh, in and out. Malone and Ainge get tied up. The foul is called on Ainge.
Oh, boy.
4 on Ainge.
Well, take a look at this one and make up your mind. You see Jones just about pushing Maxwell off the floor. And Moses obliges as well.
That was a terrible call.
Not only that, but it's Danny's 4th.
Malone way outside. And a foul on Robert Parrish. That's his first foul of the game, I believe. Is it not?
He's just second, but he's been very effective and aggressive, and managed to stay out of foul trouble. Again, with the injured ankle, you know, you would think it would take away some of the agility. It hasn't seemed that way.
Henderson has replaced Ainge for the Celtics. Danny has 4 personals. Malone, again, they double up on him. Malone loses the ball, gets it back, shoots an air ball, and we're going to get a whistle and a foul going the other way. Loose ball foul on, I believe, Bobby Jones. No, Julius Erving.
That's the 4th team foul, so the Celtics have an opportunity to exploit the foul situation here.
Bird, is he on fire tonight? Celtics' biggest lead, 21 points, 80-59, 7.5 minutes to go, third quarter. Celtics are up by 21. And we get one low called by Rooney. I can't really see him. It's on Parrish, his third.
Well, the big guys are starting to lean on each other. Philadelphia's got to make up quite a deficit here, so they're trying to go inside to Moses each time, assuming that the Celtics with the lead might get tired of doubling up on him.
Tony and Malone, the offensive rebound, loses the ball. Buckner on the pull-up. The rebound tip from Malone to Bobby Jones. Celtics, with 7 minutes to go in the third quarter, are up by 21. Ball is loose. Maxwell ahead to Quinn Buckner. Beautiful defensive play by Bobby Jones.
I'll tell you, did we tell you about that kid?
That was a great play.
Quinn took his eyes off him. He made the right play. He came in the middle, which makes it even more difficult, as opposed to going to one side or the other for the defensive man to get to it. Jones went over his shoulder and still was able to deflect without fouling. Outstanding defensive play.
Play back in. Just before we got back, Larry Bird buried an 18-footer for his 28th and 29th points of the night. Malone on a stop. But the Celtics are still up by 21, 82-61.
There is a strong basket.
Buckner, not a wise choice on the shot.
Out of control.
Irving. And now Clint Richardson, and the ball is out of bounds off the Celtics. Right now, Bird has 29 points, 10 rebounds. Parrish 16 points, 11 rebounds. Irving with 17, Malone with 14 for Philly. Bobby Jones inbounds.
Chuck Daly was talking about how Moses' presence simply has helped the Philadelphia shooting posture, because they feel more secure now shooting the unorthodox shot, knowing that Malone's under there, probably going to create a second and third effort for them.
Irving from outside banks it in nicely. Oh, Philly cuts it down to 19, 82-63 with 6 minutes to go, third quarter. Philadelphia has Richardson, Cheeks, Malone, Irving, and Bobby Jones. Celtics have Buckner, Henderson, Bird, Maxwell, and Parrish. The steal by Mo Cheeks. He's very good at that sort of thing.
How about first in the league? Cheeks does that so well. Fourth in the league, I'm sorry. Almost 3 a game. Jay is 10th with 2 steals a game.
The Philadelphia has run off 6 unanswered points in about 30 seconds. It's now the Celtics 82, Philadelphia 65. All right, the Celtics with a 17-point lead right now, as Philly has come back here with the 6 quick unanswered points. Celtics were up by 21, and Bill Fitch wisely and quickly calling the timeout to sort of regroup a little bit.
Cheeks is so effective on that ball stealing. He likes to come in from the blind side because he's low to the ground, and he's awfully quick, anticipates well. He's had 48 steals so far this year, and as we said, he stands 4th in the league.
You were talking a little while ago about Philly having much more confidence in their shooting because of the fact that they've got Malone underneath. Well, Irving is shooting 53% from the floor, Ivoroni 56, Mo Cheeks 57, Andrew Toney 52. So 4 of their 5 starters are shooting better than 50%. The Celtics have 2 of their 5 shooting better than 50%. So that certainly pans out.
We got into it a little bit at halftime with Chuck Daly, but neither one of us felt that Moses would make the adjustment that quickly prior to the season. I had a talk with Chuck, and actually he's made it much better than, much quicker, but also he has complemented, you know, the other Philly players so well, and he's enlarged himself as a player himself. It's hard to say that about a two-time MVP, but I always felt he was one or two-dimensional type of player. He is in the top 10 in shots blocked. He's never been there before. He's always led the league in rebounding, obviously. He's number 10 in scoring, so he's getting into many more categories. Bird from way out.
Bird missing about a 24-footer, 23-footer. Quinn Buckner, a big offensive rebound, as the Celtics don't want to let Philly run 8 in a row on them. All right, Buckner, now Parrish. Celtics are leading by 17. Buckner with 10 seconds to go on the shot clock, has cheeks on him, and an offensive foul. Is that what he's calling?
Oh,
yes, he is.
A little now up there.
Offensive foul.
Wow.
Says he caught him with the knee.
Oh, gee.
Interesting. All right, Philadelphia taking the ball on the Celtic foul. Philly's at the limit in fouls, by the way, in the quarter. The Celtics have committed 3. Philadelphia trying to get down under 17 as they get it in low to Richardson, and we have
By Henderson,
Boston
I believe.
foul
Good movement off the ball
on Gerald Henderson.
by Clint Richardson. These cuts from the weak side, here's Clint coming around the pick and Henderson following behind. These cuts become more effective as the game progresses, and obviously in the second half. Another quick foul on Henderson.
That puts the Celtics over the limit and puts Philadelphia at the line with 5:03 to go in the third quarter. So Philly's making a run here. They've scored 6 in a row, and now Clint Richardson's at the line to shoot a pair for the Sixers.
As the defense lets down a little to continue that point,